Hello, and welcome to the Dogfight, a podcast dedicated to the London Spitfire and Overwatch League. Fasten your seatbelts and observe the no smoking sign because today we'll be discussing the continued death spiral of the London Spitfire, their final regular season matches, and what playoffs will most likely shape up to be. We haven't been together for a while, but I'm Havokpus, reunited once again with Zoey.
And I'm back for now, and I'm
Yes.
glad to finally be doing this again.
Yeah, and my move-in craziness has subsided a lot. I finally have internet in my apartment, so we can
Yay.
do this proper again. Well, speaking of things that aren't going, or I guess not going well, the London Spitfire is trash now.
Yeah.
And so this last week was better. So I don't think we did an episode last week, but they played against the Dallas Fuel and they played just atrociously, like literally the worst we have ever seen the Spitfire in terms of coordination, in terms of individual play. It was god awful. This week was better, but
He's still pretty bad.
I think they're a first half team, Zoey. They are a first half team, and I think that it's just phenomenal that a team that, especially how they played in stage 1, can quickly go from being literally the only team to really challenge New York in terms of skill, and quickly degrade to, I would say, stage 1 through 3 Dallas Fuel levels of just mediocrity. Like in the first half, for Valiant and Gladiators both, they played great. I think you would agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
How the team played was fantastic. But then what happened was, second half kicks in, and all of a sudden the Spitfire syndrome flares up. They completely turn off their brains. They don't adapt in-game and to just adjusting to how their opponents are adapting to the Spitfire and their strategies. You know, they can't focus on control. They seem to just have no idea how to play payload anymore. And they just lose in some ways, the dumbest ways possible. Like, in Gladiators, you're up 2-0 at the half after playing amazingly, and then you just completely drop the ball. That's just inexcusable.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it feels to me like when I was watching this that it wasn't quite as bad as, again, as you mentioned, the Dallas match. And in fact, I think there's a lot better, especially, like, the Valiant put up a huge fight during the first half, during game 1 especially, and we played well for the first half of both games, but we choked. And choking is not really something I wanted to associate with. And I said I was going to avoid ranting at the beginning, but I might step into that kind of territory. This is it really hurts me to think this team won stage 1 and is constantly choking away games again. To the point where it feels like, okay, if I had my expectations way up at the top, and to have that expectation completely shattered by this stage, it just feels awful to be a Spitfire fan right now. Because if I had lower expectations, I'd be fine with, this kind of thing, as I kind of root for the Mayhem as well. But I can't say the same for the Spitfire, because they should be way up there, statistically speaking, and they're not.
And the thing is, the same problems that they're showing currently, they've been having since the start of the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly,
and I think that's just inexcusable. Like, is it I don't even know how to fix their issues anymore. It's like, is it the coaching staff? It might not even be the coaching staff, since you've had this problems going in. Is it the coaches? Is it just the players? They're clearly individually skilled, but if they just can't play as a goddamn team, then I think it's time to just make some serious changes, start knocking down some walls, and start building some up again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's the point where after this season, we might want. I mean, after this season, we might want to consider some fairly radical change because honestly, it feels like we have a lot of it. We have a lot of inactive players that we could have been using for a while. We have lots of. We have absolutely. Goodness, it just.
I mean, you could literally make the argument. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
oh yeah, you can.
I mean, you could literally make the argument to cutting everyone except for Prophet. Prophet is the only shining light on this team right now because he is not only a jack of all trades, but he is by far the only consistent member in terms of performance. I think for the most part, Gesture, while skilled, can't play like a team member for half the game. Birdring is inconsistent in terms of his skill level, and Bedosin's just running around like a headless chicken. Nuss, I don't even know why we even play Nuss, considering he helps lose the matches in terms of his position.
Why have we not put him on the inactive list?
I don't know.
I
don't know what's going on with the team, and it's just so frustrating.
Frankly, I could have said back in stage 3 that I wouldn't have been considering, such radical changes, but now, I think I remember saying, gotta be a few episodes now, that I was thinking of a rebuild might be necessary. Well, now it is necessary, because honestly, it feels like most of the team sucks right now, and I'm like, is consistently performing badly. There's been a few up and down games for players like Gesture, especially because it feels like one game it'll be a really, really great tank, and then another will just be over there diving.
I mean, sometimes that'll happen in the same game. I mean, look at the Gladiators game. First half, him and Prophet were playing completely in sync with each other and looking like an amazing duo, as they should have been playing the whole season. And then immediately after halftime, he's going in randomly. He's too far away from his team. He's not able to do the mechanical things that you need him to do, as well as just operate as sort of the driving force behind how a team operates. At least how I see Overwatch. I see sort of the main tank as sort of the driver, and then you're supposed to have your team kind of coordinate around what the main tank wants to do. And so if the tank wants to dive, you have to have the team all on the same page. Like, okay, we're gonna dive like this. If he's playing Reinhardt, he has to coordinate. Okay, I'm gonna use shield. So I'm done. I'm rambling at this point.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. But it feels like at this point, like lots of tanks, sometimes Gesture feels like they want to play like Fissure, in terms of diving. But it just feels like the team. It feels like just. I don't understand exactly what's going on with this team, because the team is talented on paper, but it still feels like when you put that into matches, they're absolutely atrocious. And I have no idea why. We've benched some players. It could be the coaching staff, it could be somebody's diva attitude, it could be whatever at this point. I have no idea. And frankly, as a Spitfire fan, I kind of want answers to a few of these questions, because we have not been performing what we need to, and while we'll still, okay, I'll actually save that comment for later.
I do agree. I think that as a whole, I think the Cloud9, I guess as a whole, since this is sort of the sister organization, but this has just been a complete mismanagement of how the team works. You have a revolving door with how your coaching staff works. You're constantly having to switch out players in between matches, so there's no real consistency, and it just really ruins how you create synergy and how you do things. So I think Jack really needs to own up with how London has been mismanaged, and I think there needs to definitely be huge changes going into Season 2, and I think we'll definitely talk about that once changes actually happen, and then how we can expect it. But I think we've rambled and bashed the team long enough. I think it's time to move
we need to,
towards the match preview.
Yeah, let's move on.
And I feel bad because I don't know for how long, and it has just been me doing the solo episodes, just me saying, London's still got problems, and London's bad.
Honestly,
And I feel bad because I support C9 overall, and I want to support this team because I love all the players, I love their personalities. But when they're not cutting it, you have to start really getting hard. And I think this is just like a breaking point for me. So
yeah, it's honestly, it feels kind of like the same to me. It just feels like we should be performing at a level that we are about 5 miles away from. And it's just, I don't know if that came across right, but
no, I got what you're saying.
Yeah, it's very sad to me, because this team should be consistently at the top, and frankly at this stage there is no way, and during this stage and even during last stage there was no way that would have happened.
Yeah, well, speaking of performance, they will be doing it one last time for the regular season, for Season 1. On Thursday, January 14th at 9 p.m. Eastern, they'll be playing against Florida Mayhem, and on Saturday, June 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern against Philly Fusion. So Florida Mayhem, I think we can both agree, Zoey, must win. You need to win this not only for seasonal playoff season, but just for your own dignity at this point, to actually just to win a match and not look like fools. To look like a bunch of clods. You gotta win this.
Yeah, and it honestly feels like now, with the way that, do I even know that this is that we will win this at this point? Like, honestly, the team's been so inconsistent that I can't say a proper prediction, but I think we're gonna win this. Mainly just because I saw Florida struggle against Shanghai, and frankly,
if you struggle against Shanghai, you
have no chance against any other team.
I think that London can win.
I don't think it's going to be 4-0 necessarily.
Oh no, I think it will be much closer. I think even in Stage 3, I think London really struggled to squeak out like a 3-1 win against the Mayhem. So
yeah,
I'm a bit
the Mayhem
worried.
Absolutely is a force to be reckoned with, but they are much stronger in Stage 3 than, and I think they're much stronger in Stage 3 than they are this stage. So, frankly,
I'll say like 80% will win.
What?
I think like 80 to 90% outcome for us winning. I think that.
Yeah, I think that there's pretty much, and plus, this is good for overall playoffs because the only thing we have to do for playoffs is win once. So if we're good, I think we're probably going to be good in terms of at least in terms of playoffs. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself in terms of that.
Yeah, let's not jump ahead. I think as far as Philly Fusion, though, sort of the big match, London has no chance. I think that Philly even though Philly is also struggling, if you look at, as far as like a consistency basis, they have Carpe and Snillo and EQO, all three of which I think have been playing fairly regularly this stage and also been playing fairly well. Mm-hmm. Sato, I think, has really elevated their tank play over Fraggy.
Yeah, he's really boosted their tank play.
Yeah, and
pun very much intended there.
Yeah.
But still, honestly, it feels like. I'm sorry about that one.
No, I was actually really clever. It took me a minute.
Yeah, that was actually fairly clever. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, I feel like Philly, this stage, actually has a ton of a chance against us. They've been performing fairly well, I want to say. They've been performing at about fuel levels, which is good this stage.
Current fuel. Let's be clear, current fuel, not...
Yeah, current fuel, obviously, but, it feels like they're probably going to win against us without a doubt. I don't know by how much, though.
You can even
shouldn't be close.
I mean, you could at least apply it to how London usually loses their games now, which is London will do great in the first half and then just choke because they don't know how to close out. I mean, you could even I mean, you can even apply it to control maps and just go, well, you're already at sort of a map deficit because their control map consistency is just poor.
Mm-hmm.
And even with the payload maps as they are now, has London won a payload map like?
I don't know.
Stage? I don't think they have. That. So, I think that if you just base it off of how they've been performing on the map types, the stage, London has a very slim chance, I think, as well as how they're playing now, how they're trying to have to just grasp at straws with the resources that they now have. I think that London can't beat Philly. I think there's no way. I'm sorry, London. I'm sorry, London fans, but this is just how it is. There is no faith, and until they can restore that faith, I'm gonna have to vote against them and say that Philly is going to win. 1-3 or 2-3 is gonna be the score.
In the past month, we have won 30. We have won 2 maps on Gibraltar in the past month.
Oh God, London,
I
please.
think in 1 map, according to Winston's lab. I'm unsure about that though.
So, I guess before we move on and talk about playoffs, Zoey, if you have any final thoughts on the Philly match, dispense with them.
I don't really have any final thoughts. I mean, honestly, Philly just. I don't understand how they just bounced back like that. How they were seeming like they seemed like they seemed like they were struggling, and then they bounced back, and it feels like more the sort of stage 2 Philly that we got. And honestly, I'm kind of rooting for them except not against us, but I'm still kind of rooting for them to get in the playoffs.
I mean, I'm sure they will.
They can get in the stage playoffs as well.
Yeah, I will say that, and I mean, I think that has to go down to coaching. I think Philly's coaching staff is really good at taking what they had, even when they didn't have Sato. And I think maybe some of their other players, because they weren't in just yet. I think they made the best of a sort of a difficult start, and then they were able to just slowly ramp up, and then practice, and then become a really good team. And I think that that's what you need in Overwatch League. It starts with the coaching. You need really good coaches that not only understand the game, but understand the key components of adapting as the meta changes, as well as just preparing properly for difficult opponents. And I think that Philly has done that first and foremost. And then they've also built a really, I think, an amazing roster of just a who's who of international stars from all over the globe, not just from Korea. You know, they have EQO from Israel. They have some European players. I think they even have Shadowburn's from Russia.
They have Shadowburn, I think.
Yeah. And so they just have players from all over the world, really. And they're doing really well. So I think it proves that, you know, you can find extremely good playoff contender talent outside of Korea and still be extremely successful as long as you have the proper coaching. So I think the Philly story is incredible to see.
Yep, I can just say that Kirby and Hayes are both very, very good coaches, and honestly, Hui is as well, and BZ is a great analyst, and I feel like the team has been very much flourishing, kind of like Boston were in the first and second and maybe even third stages, where the coaching really helped shape them in terms of identity.
Yeah, even and I think you can really see that because Boston now is really struggling, and that was after they lost their coach that got them that perfect stage 3 10-0 run.
Ever since Krusty left, this SF Shock has absolutely skyrocketed, and well, Boston
they've looked a lot better. So for the playoffs, to kind of get back on topic, so.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Three teams have clinched the playoffs. There's New York Excelsior for to no surprise, LA Valiant, and Boston Uprising. Even though they've been playing poorly, this stage their undefeated Stage 3 performance, as well as them playing fairly decently in Stage 1 and Stage 2. Stage 2 definitely helped. So in the hunt, we have us, London Spitfire, Gladiators, Philly Fusion, Houston Outlaws, and Seoul Dynasty. And San Francisco Shock, Shanghai, Dallas, and Florida are out. So I want to talk about the teams in the hunt. I think we can all just agree right off the bat that...
Well, I mean, it feels like Boston, while they have clinched, they can get really far down as well. And
no, yeah, that's true.
Let's talk about the teams in the hunt.
Yeah. I mean, I think outside of Boston, I think LA Valiant and New York Excel have definitely proved themselves just in this stage. I mean, I think Valiant with their player, their roster changes, and I think I can't remember if they got a new coach or not, but whatever changes they made, it definitely seemed to work because the team's just playing a lot better ever since they made those changes.
They were the gatekeepers of mediocrity for a while, and now they're not. So, and frankly,
good for them.
And frankly, I very much like this new Valiant squad with Custa.
I love Custa. I think he's hard to hate.
What?
Custa's just hard to hate. He seems like such a nice guy, I think his shot calling has really helped improve the Valiant.
And honestly, I can't wait to see. And honestly, Fincy, my fellow Icelander, I like Fincy quite a bit as well. So we've got a squad full of likable players, and very much they seemed like the underdogs for a while, and now they've really just sort of seem to be dominant forces in the Pacific.
Yeah, for sure. As far as in the hunt, I have no idea how London is going to go. I think that even if they do make the playoffs, they're not going to go well. I don't think they'll last long, especially how they're playing currently. I think that they could very well just lose in their first match. It's incredibly hard to really root for them when you have seen just this train wreck in slow motion kind of happening. And I mean, that sounds like a harsh analogy, but really that's what it is. They're just performing poorer and poorer each stage. Mm-hmm. That kind of sounds like a train wreck to me.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, though, it is really difficult to avoid stage playoffs at this point. Because,
well, I mean, not stage playoffs, seasonal playoffs.
Not stage playoffs, season playoffs, my apologies. It's really difficult to avoid that because we would have to lose twice this week, and for both the Outlaw and Dynasty to win. And frankly, that is just a bit of a task. But I don't really have any hopes of us winning out either and getting number 3. So, yeah, I'm not looking forward to a potential matchup with NYXL.
I am hoping that Gladiators and Fusion can make it. I really don't care for Houston Outlaws. I hate Jake and Raucus. I hate them so much. I want to wipe the smirks off their smug ass faces. I hate them. Muma also bothers me just because his mouth is smaller than his face. I don't know why. Just when he smiles,
that's an incredibly specific thing to be bothered about. But I get you.
He has a small mouth and he has a lot of gum, so he just looks weird when he smiles. It's nothing personal. He just bothers me. But I mean, and the move thing is sort of more joking. But yeah, I hate Jake and Raucus. They're too annoying. And I think for Seoul Dynasty, I don't know. I think it's the case of them also being somewhat similar to London in that you have all this great talent and you were expected to do really well and you're not. I think if anyone kind of messes up, especially how Seoul has handled things, I'm not sure you really deserve to go to playoffs if you just completely messed up your situation. You kind of need to take a timeout and learn.
Yep. Honestly, the bottom two are in a very, the Houston and Seoul are both in very difficult spot. Because basically Philly, London, and LA are all winning in teams where they just have to win once and get in. And honestly, I have no doubts for any of those three to get that one win. However, the Dynasty need to win out this week and have one of us lose twice.
So
and still have at Seoul, and then they still have to have map differential over Houston.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance, but an extremely unlikely one for Seoul to make the playoffs. It feels more likely to, even though Houston are in a really tough spot too, and so is Seoul. Honestly, I don't know who in the world. It's a toss up at this point.
Well, I think
I doubt that any of those two. Although I doubt any of the top three. I doubt London, LA, Gladiators, or Philly would lose twice this week. Right, that's me finished rambling.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll just have to see. But I think, in terms of what I want to see in terms of a final, I think I would really love to see NYXL versus the Gladiators, because I just really like the Gladiators roster. You have Fisher and Void, Kongdu, Pantera, Tank Line, back again. It's really just like sort of a mixing of Cloud9 and not Cloud9, because from the Cloud9 side you have Fisher, Void, because Void was on a Cloud9 Kongdu, Surefour, and Bishu, who actually played for C9 Tempest way back when he was playing
I forgot when he played League, yeah.
Yeah, so you have half of their team basically is just Cloud9's former players. So this is basically C9 Light, if you want to think about it.
Is it C9 with no carbs?
Yeah, it's C9 without the curse of underperforming whenever you play Overwatch. So
I mean, I don't know if there's okay, I doubt that there's a curse on them, but still.
No, there's totally a curse. I mean, anytime they try to.
Not in C9. There's.
I meant in
curse
Overwatch.
With C9 obs, but with the Gladiators.
Yeah. So I think, and also you just have Hydration, who everyone loves. Shaz is a crazy support, and I think Big Goose is. I mean, he's not flashy, but I think he does a really good job.
Big Goose does a lot of work behind the scenes, and honestly,
he's the unsung hero. So I think that I would love to see NYXL and the Glads play, and I hope the Glads win, because I don't know.
I hope the Glads win too, and they've basically got a throwaway match against the Dragons this week, so I think they will get in the playoffs. They will, because
I sort of wouldn't.
The Dragons are going 0-40 this year.
I sort of wouldn't mind seeing the NYXL win, actually, just because, I mean, Sabiolbi is just the best. He's so wholesome.
I think they well deserve. Honestly, as much as it would irritate some people, I think they well deserve a title, to be honest.
Plus they have Pine.
They've been the most dominant force throughout the entire season, and it feels like they've properly. It feels like the sort of LW Blue curse is gone, and I cannot be help but be very happy for them.
Yeah. I mean, they've displayed just the largest amount of skill and coaching, and it's sort of the perfect storm that you would want in Overwatch League. So I think they definitely deserve it. I'm not saying they shouldn't get it. Yeah. But I can't think of anything else to say for playoffs. Do you have anything else?
Let's just hope that the same curse that strikes the Mets does not strike the Excelsior when the playoffs come.
Well, we'll have to see. But that's it for us. So put your Well, I guess the plane is all wrecked, so there's really no more tray table or seats. But, thanks for listening, and we'll see you later.